Good morning. Right, so the art of getting started and success and failure are both very predictable. So what we're going to cover is you can genuinely achieve anything. I genuinely believe that whether it's personally or professionally or financially, whatever it is you want to achieve, you can genuinely achieve it. I'm going to have to go quiet for a few bits because there's lots of boats up here. The reality is you can achieve anything you want, but you can't achieve everything. And success and failure are both very predictable in the fact that when you understand and have realistic expectations about how these things play out, then you can follow the steps, you can put them into practice, and you genuinely can achieve anything you want, but you can't achieve everything. And the hardest part of all of this is going to be one that you want a pen and paper for. The hardest bit of all of this is getting started is the hardest thing. The 95% of people fall at the first hurdle because getting started is the hardest thing. And even if you do get stopped you in your tracks. So there's 3 steps to this, and what we want to look at is whatever you want to achieve right now, whether it's starting a business or scaling a business or getting fit and healthy or anything, literally anything. There's 3 steps to it. So the first step is to understand what you can do. So we're going to call this iceberg. The first step is to really understand what's involved. So many boats. I don't want to disturb anyone. I've been told off too many times doing these Facebook lives. So the first thing is the iceberg, which is, good morning. How you doing? You all right? Yeah, good, thank you. So the first thing is the iceberg. And what people set out to achieve things, and they look at the target or they look at somebody else who's doing it, and they look at that tiny little aspirational piece at the top, whether it's a photo shoot, an established business, things like that. They look at that thing at the top, but they don't really understand all the other things that are considered. And equally, they want to go all guns blazing, go for something big, or they want to try 5 things at once, and they want to start a business that sells this and it sells that. And you're going for that top of the iceberg. Started is to really understand what's involved in achieving this, because everything has a price, and you want to understand what is the price of what you're going to do, what's involved, what commitments do you need to make, what sacrifices you're going to need to make, what's it actually going to involve in practice, and do those things align with what you want to do? Do you actually understand what's in achieving? And this is the iceberg, because everything has a price, and the question is, are you prepared to pay that price? So the way to do this is to, if you want to get fit and healthy, it's like, well, what does that involve? If it involves 2 hours worth of prep every day, or 20,000 steps, or going to the gym 5 times a week, you want to get into ultimate shape, you commit to what you're going to do, but do you actually understand what's involved in it? Read articles, read blogs, watch interviews, speak to people who are already doing it, and start to understand what's really involved in what you think you want to do. You want to go into service accommodation because loads of people are making money, right? Well, what does that actually involve? Is it as easy as everyone thinks? You want to get into photo shoot fitness, and you want to go down to 7 or 8% body fat. Right, okay, well, what does that experience involve? How does it feel physically, emotionally? How much time does it take? What commitments do you have to make? Go and find out whatever it is you're thinking about doing, starting a new business, getting fit and healthy, going into a new industry, launching a new product or service. Go and speak to people and understand all of the parts of the iceberg that are under the water, and understand what it involves in practice, because especially in business, most people in business spend their life building businesses that fundamentally don't actually make money. And rather than spend 3 to 5 years to find that out, you could have found it out reasonably early on by speaking to people who've already done it. So the first step is to understand the iceberg. Look at what you're thinking about doing and go out and study it, read about it, speak to people who are doing it, read interviews, just research, understand everything that's involved, so you're going in with a very clear understanding, and that will help you say no to 8 out of 10 things. when you really understand what's involved. So the first is the iceberg. Before you commit to something, understand what it's all about. The second is the blueprint. So within this experience of starting to ask about, when we talk about success and failure very predictable, there's somebody out there who has already done what you want to achieve. So if it's personal training, if it's personal training and fitness and nutrition, I use RNT, because they've got a blueprint that shows you how to lose weight without having to do HIIT training and killing yourself, how to gradually lose weight, how to change your body, change your life, and pull it together step by step. Maybe you want to do quite a quick weight loss, and you want to shed a load off in 30 days, and you go and find a blueprint for somebody who's done an extreme weight loss. Maybe you want to start a portfolio management company, and you go and find somebody who's got the blueprint to actually do that. Maybe you want to start a finance company, or you want to start a development company. Everything that's ever been achieved, what you're thinking about, somebody somewhere has a blueprint. So somebody somewhere, this is lovely around here, somebody somewhere has a blueprint of exactly what you want to do. So Property Entrepreneur is a blueprint. It's unique, it's proven. We've used it for 7 years, or I've used it for a decade. We've taught it for 7 years. Without a doubt, it's flawless. But the blueprint is half of what you need to do. Is whether you're losing weight or starting a business or going into an industry, what is the blueprint? The blueprint, and the blueprint is the result of all the mistakes that everybody else has made. Why spend the first 3 years making the mistake that everybody else makes? Why not just figure out what the blueprint is? So get that blueprint is the second step. Success and failure are very predictable. When you know what that blueprint is, whether it's, I spoke to somebody yesterday who wants to start a specialist insurance company. I said, right, you need to go and find somebody who's got the blueprint. If somebody wants to lose weight, don't just start turning up with, you're going to eat salad every 2 days, salad 3 times a day, and live off water and dust. It's a very short-term strategy. You're going to let the pendulum will swing then. The second is to find the blueprint, whether it's Stuart Scott's on the call. So Stuart Scott is basically owns the co-living space. He's been doing it for a long time. He's absolutely nailed it. He's got a blueprint of how to actually do it. Property Entrepreneur, if you want to build a business in property, the Property Entrepreneur blueprint shows you how to do that. If you want to get lean in 15, you can go see Joe Wicks. If you want to do a body transformation, transform your body, transform your life, speak to 𝐏𝐸𝐜 at RNT. Every single thing you want to achieve has a blueprint. And the second thing you need to do is find that blueprint, because most people never crack the blueprint, and they're trying to work hard on things that fundamentally don't work. Find the blueprint, and then all you've got to do is execute. And this is moving into the third step, because knowing what to do is half of it. The ability to actually execute is the other half. And that, we all know, that's the hardest bit, because getting started is the hardest bit. And this is the third step. The third step to getting started is understanding how the flywheel works. So you can achieve anything, but you can't achieve everything. You've chose your target, you've got your blueprint, and it's like, right, now it's time to actually execute. The flywheel is, we're all human, myself included. Like, the flywheel is a very real thing. And what the flywheel is, if you know what a flywheel is, imagine back in the old days, a big concrete flywheel. The first bit of getting started is the hardest part. Those first 10 or 15 cycles of a big concrete flywheel are almost impossible to get it moving. But once it gets moving, it gets inertia and it gets momentum, and it builds up energy, and it starts to move of its own accord. The third step is we need to understand that the flywheel exists, and we need to fire your flywheel up. My mum said something quite interesting at the weekend, last weekend, and she said, the more you do, the more you want to do. So the more you do, the more you want to do. The more times you get into it and you get through that starting period, the more you actually want to do. And it gets that inertia, it gets that momentum, it gets the flywheel going. However, the less you do, the less you're able to do. So if you decide, actually, I'm not going to go running this weekend, next weekend you can't run as far. If you think, well, I'm going to get a bit sloppy with my business, and you take you off the ball on sales, then you have less money. And if you have less money, you have less resource. And if you have less resource, you can make less investments. The more you do, the more you want to do. And we want to get you to that point. Fire it up. Get the first deal done. Get that momentum going. Get through those hard first miles. The first mile of a run is always one of the hardest. We want to get that flywheel going, and there's a few ways to do this. The first I would suggest, so this is appreciating that you've chose your target, you've got the blueprint. The first is to understand that slow and steady wins the race. How many times have you seen a friend or a family member or someone in your offices turn up on their new diet and they go, yeah, I'm doing 20,000 steps a day, I'm going to the gym 6 days a week, here's my meal plan for the day, I'm having a glass of water in the morning, I'm having some salad at lunch, and I'm having a shake in the evening. That's like going all guns blazing from the off. And the only thing you're going to do there, the same as driving an F1 car, again, we talk about this a lot on Property Entrepreneur. If you come flying out of the pits and just go full pelt around the first corner, the tyres aren't warm, you're not locked in, you're not familiar with the circuit, the thing just slides off. Those of you that have had go-karts or supercars in the past, you can't just go out and thrash it, you need to warm the tyres. So the first part is to understand that, take a run up. So when I decided to start cutting post-lockdown and just trim a bit of weight off, I didn't go out and say, right, I'm going to go back to 20,000 running once a week and lifting weights 5 times. Peak performance when you're entering into for a cut. First thing is to warm the tyres. And the first bit should be, right, I'm going to go and do a small deal. I'll do one small deal, I'll test it, I'll get familiar with it, I'll build my confidence. If it's fit and healthy, it's like, right, I'm going to stop eating snacks, so get snacks out of the way, I'm going to increase my water, get that out of the way, and do it bit by bit. And what this does is twofold. One is it builds that momentum of getting the flywheel going, and the second is it increases your chances of success, because most people give up because up slowly, and have that plan to go into it gradually, because slow and steady wins the race with all of this. I'm working on a few businesses at the minute, big aspirations, like big plans to be big national companies, and my feedback is, right, year one, in fact 3 companies that I'm working with at the minute, is year one, let's do, or phase one, is you want to phase this. So phase one with cutting and body transformation is called clean the palate. Phase one is just drink water, do your steps, get healthy. That's phase one. Phase two is, right, let's start clipping off a few of those carbs, let's maybe step up the steps a bit. And then phase three is, right, the flywheel's going, we've got the momentum, you're enjoying it, you're engaged, now let's pull the trigger. And that's when you put your foot down, that's when you go flying around the corners. The flywheel is a very real thing, and equally, a closing sentiment is the pendulum swings. We're all human. We are all human, and sometimes once you've got that flywheel going, it's a million miles an hour. I'm on it, I'm loving it, steps, I'm going to the gym, I'm fit, I'm healthy, I'm getting good results. And then something happens towards the end of the process where you take your eye off the ball, you have your first sloppy weekend, you've seen some good results, and you fall into that performance dip where maybe you burnt yourself out, or you're going to have a little treat because you want to reward yourself. You know, I'm going to treat myself this weekend. And we all know that one bad day doesn't write off one good day. One bad day writes off six good days. And that's very damaging. So the final step is the flywheel. Whatever it is you're thinking about doing, go slow and steady. Warm yourself up to it. Get into it bit by bit. It's far easier to add 5% a day, a week, a year than it is to go from 0 to 100. So warm the flying wheel up, get the momentum going, and then it will move forward. And probably closing sentiment is, the more you do, the more you want to do. Like, I'm getting my steps all the time now, and this morning, so I'm going to do a video at some point about journaling and talking to yourself and having conversations with yourself. This morning I was like, right, what do I want? I want to be on my AAA game. What do I need to do to sort of step this up a little bit? So I was like, right, well, I'm going to go from 12,500 steps to 15,000 steps. So I'm like, right, we'll look at my calendar. Can I do that? Put a few more steps in, like 12,500 to 15,000 steps, and then look at my meal plan. I'm like, right, well, rather than 2 whole eggs, I'm going to have one whole leg and one white. So that pulls out quite a few calories out of the fat of the second yolk. Lunchtime, I've been having sort of salad wraps, maybe a little bit of protein in there. I'm just gonna have half a wrap. So still all the same filling, all the same volume, but just that extra bread, just cut that in half, just trim that out. And then for dinner, just drop down the carbs a little bit. I won't even notice that really, because I'm gonna knock up my steps by 2,500 a day. Fits perfectly with my diary at the minute, so that's all good. And then I'm gonna trim a bit out of my meals. Step by step, slow and steady wins the race. How many people do you know that say they're going to do amazing things and you speak to them a week later or a month later and they've completely just gone off the boil? It's probably because they didn't fire up the flywheel. So to recap, 3 steps. First is understand the iceberg. If you want to build a business, what does the market look like? What are your competitors doing? What's it like as an entrepreneur in that space? What's it like as an entrepreneur altogether? If you want to do a body cut, what's that experience like? How does it feel? What commitment does it require? You can achieve anything you want in life. I honestly believe that. For those of you that watch me do the level up year, we absolutely killed everything. I was like, you genuinely can. My biggest learning from that year was you genuinely can achieve anything you want. Anything you're thinking about doing, you can achieve, but you can't achieve everything. Really size up the iceberg and understand what you want to go for. The second is the blueprint. There's very few new problems. Someone somewhere has done what you want to do. Go and find them, go and research them, go and find their blueprint, find other people who've done it. Whether it's in the finance industry or it's in the property industry or like property entrepreneur, you want to build a business in property, find that blueprint because it's worth its weight in gold. You'll pay for somebody else's decade worth of mistakes. Don't even start without the blueprint. Find the person who's got your blueprint and go and absolutely execute it. For health and fitness, I would highly recommend the RNT methodology. For business in property, I would recommend Property Entrepreneur. For property investing, I would recommend Simon's Mastermind. I've spent hundreds of thousands of pounds on training, mentoring, because that's where the value is. There's a blueprint for everything. Don't guess it. There's no point. You don't stand a chance. And then finally is, once you've got the blueprint, you need to execute. Slow but steady, one step at a time, warm the flywheel up. We're all human. If you go all guns blazing, you're going to come off the track and 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years later, well, 2 weeks or 2 months later, it's not going to have worked. Is bit by bit, step by step, add a little bit each month, slow and steady wins the race. Life's a long game, business is a long game. Understand what you've got to do and warm the flywheel. So those of you that are thinking of getting started, whatever it is, business, property, health and fitness, getting up early, anything, follow those 3 steps and I guarantee you it will get traction. It's all a game. Success and failure are very predictable. Find the blueprint, pull the trigger, and yeah, you can achieve anything you want, but you can't achieve everything. The more you do, the more you want to do. The less you do, the less you physically can do. So I wish you the best of luck with that. Anything you're getting started on, let me know. Drop a comment in. If you like these videos, feel free to share it, and I'll catch you all later on. Have a great day.